Hey everybody, Joey here again and welcome back. So I get a lot of questions on aquarium filtration, some different methods on how to build certain types of filters. Number one request is always, how can I make the cheapest filter possible, yet have it still being effective? Well, the number one filter that I keep coming back to on that specific question is really simple. It's not a new idea, and it's been around for a while. The wet-dry filter. They're so easy to make, and they're extremely effective. For me, they're in the top 3 best types of filters you could possibly have on your freshwater aquarium. Now, what is a wet-dry, or what is a trickle tower? They're both very similar. A wet-dry means that the filter's media is half submerged and half emerged, essentially giving its name wet-dry. So some of the filter media is dry, the rest is wet. By dry, I don't mean dry. It's really wet, but it's exposed to the air. What's a trickle tower? Basically, it's a wet-dry without the wet. It's just the tower, and all of the media is above the water surface. Now, how can you go about making a wet-dry and doing it as cheaply as possible, to be blunt? Well, again, this is not a new idea. This idea has been around for a while. A lot of people are doing it and have been doing it and will continue doing it based on its efficiency, its effectiveness, and its price. Basically, all that you really need is a tower like this. They come in several different sizes, several different styles as well. Basically, all it is, this one's a Sterilite drawer. It's a storage drawer, essentially. All the drawers slide out. Now, what we're going to do is not what this was intended to be, but it works fantastically. Now, Rubbermaid also makes them. You see them all the time. You know exactly what I mean now that you've seen it. Now, how does it work? Well, this is the tower portion to the filter. Essentially, water is going to flow from the top down through to the bottom. But how does it do that? Well, you're going to drill a hole in the top. Your water is going to enter there. It first gets to the first drawer here, and that's going to be your mechanical drawer. By mechanical, I mean, of course, filtering the particulate matter out of the water, essentially giving your water a clear look. Now, given that we're on the on the theme of cheap and keeping this cost effective, I highly recommend using filter floss in here. Filter floss is cheap and extremely effective, so we're going to just pack that full of filter floss. After it's done being mechanically filtered, it then moves on to the biological filtration. You can basically use whatever drawers. You can have 5, 6 drawers. You really only need 2, one for mechanical, one for biological. But in the next drawer, I would do biological, as well as in the 3rd drawer, 4th drawer, 5th drawer, all biological. In this drawer, you're going to have your biological media. The biological media that you would use, ideally, since we're on the theme of keeping money in mind, is going to be plastic pot scrubbies. Basically, all those are the plastic version of pot scrubbers. They're extremely cheap and basically made of the same material as bioballs, except they have far more surface area. The only downside to them is they have a tendency to clog a lot faster than bioballs. But if you have a good pre-filter, that's not going to happen. Your pot scrubbies, to fill this up, you usually get about 6 for $1 at your local dollar store. So you're thinking about maybe $10 worth of pot scrubbies, another 15 for the tower, looking at 25 bucks, which is really good. Then you need your sump. Sump can be anything from a glass tank, an acrylic tank, or anything that holds water. I recommend a Rubbermaid tote based on the fact that it's cheap. I don't have one, but I have a small 10-gallon tank, so we're just going to throw it in there just for a visual. So, That's it, you're done. That's your filter. Now, how does it work? Well, very simply. I mentioned earlier that you're going to be drilling a hole in the top of the tower here. This is for water to enter. But how does it keep getting down? Well, quite simply. We're going to drill holes in the bottom of each drawer. We're drilling several tiny holes evenly spaced, about an inch or ½ inch apart. What we want this to create is a raining effect, and I'm going to show you that later on in the video. Now, how many holes do you need and what size should they be? How do you know when you have enough flow and the holes are the proper size? Well, to start off, you want to make your holes evenly spaced and with a smaller drill bit. If you look in one of my past videos on how to make a drip plate, I explain all of this in there, so go look for that video before you start drilling your drawers. So, starting off small with smaller holes there's one reason and one reason only for that. It's because if they're not big enough, you can make them bigger. You start off too big and there's nothing you can do. You're already too big, you can't shrink them or anything like that. You know, you got to chuck it and get another drawer. That's basically just a little tip there. Do that to all the drawers. So water comes in through the top, it flows through your mechanical media, rains down to the next drawer and rains over all of your media. Now what this is doing is creating a highly oxygenated environment for your aerobic bacteria. Aerobic bacteria, the more oxygen they get, the more efficient they're going to be. This is why a trickle tower or a wet dry is extremely efficient and a top choice amongst aquarists. So that's basically it. Starts at the top, flows all the way through the media, that's it. Again, you know, including the tower, media, and a Rubbermaid tote, you're looking at $40 or less. You're done. All you need is your pump to pump the water back up to your main aquarium. Now, what if your aquarium's not drilled, or you don't have an overflow, or you have no way to get your water from the top tank to the bottom? Well, I showed you how to drill an aquarium that's made of acrylic. I showed you how to drill an aquarium that's made of glass. I showed you how to do the overflows. So you're covered there. But if you don't want to drill your tank, you also have the option of adding a Pvc Overflow. Showed you how to make that as well. And it's cheap and cost effective. Check my videos out if you haven't seen that already. What if you don't want to do any of that and you just don't want to sump, but you want to take advantage of an efficient filter like this? Well, obviously you're not going to be able to put a Rubbermaid on top of your aquarium, too big. You know, the weight's not really an issue, the tank's already heavy. It's just, you know, it could cause some problems if it fell. So what we're going to do there is simply grab another smaller bin. All it needs to be is, you know, shallow and big enough to fit your tower into. Just like that. Now this can go on top of your aquarium. The reason why we need this drawer is because, very simple reason. There might come a time when these drawers start to overflow because they get clogged. It's not very common and I've never had it happen, but we always want to consider the worst case scenario when we're designing and building something ourselves. So water could necessarily overflow out of the tower. What that's going to do is create a big mess if it's just sitting on top of your tank by itself. That's why we have this. That's why we have this bigger drawer below it. There's two reasons for it. One, to catch the water. Two, to channel the water down into the aquarium. Now what I mean by channeling is pretty simple. Once water is done flowing through your tower, it's going to start collecting in here. So we're going to need a bulkhead or a hole with some sort of a hose leading back into your aquarium. And that can go right on top. So that basically allows you to have a large capacity filter, you know, in a trickle tower style without having a sump or needing to plumb your aquarium. So basically everybody can have it. Back to, I forgot to mention, how do you know when you have enough water in your tower drawers before you have to, you know, stop drilling? Well, basically you'll know through trial and error. You're going to start drilling, you're going to make sure they're evenly spaced and throughout the entire surface of the bottom drawer. Once that's done, You're going to turn the filter on, have water start flowing through it at the ideal flow rate that you're looking for, and see what happens. Not enough holes, and the water's going to start raising, and it's just going to flood. Too much holes, and or too big of holes, and the water's not going to fall out of all the holes, and it's not going to be evenly distributed amongst the media. It's just going to be falling in one spot, and you're not going to get the efficiency of this filter. What you want is about a ½ inch of water to collect in each bin. That's when you know you have enough water. When it sits at a ½ inch, it doesn't keep rising slowly, it sits there. You know, ½ inch to ½ inch of water pooling in each drawer is perfect. So that's essentially it. That's going to be your answer to taking advantage of a sump system or a trickle tower system without putting the money up. So let's get into seeing one in action. I'm going to show you one that I've used and that I do use in action and how it works. So we're going to get onto that right now. Okay, so this is what the tank will look like if you were running a sump. Obviously you're going to need some water in there so your heater can be submerged and so can your pump. But here's a little tip. Notice the bottom drawer is missing. The reason for that is simple. It's because some tanks, some sumps aren't going to be big enough to allow both the tower and a 20-inch, 18-inch long heater. So the bottom drawer is removed so the heater can slide right under it. Water level is raised up to the bottom drawer so that you don't hear the water hitting, the water exiting the tower and splashing down into the sump. I'm going to go ahead and remove this drawer here so you can see what the water looks like when it's raining down. So basically, let's imagine that we're turning the pump on and water starts to flow out of it. I'm just going to pour it in with a little bucket here. So water's evenly raining down and raining over the next drawer. From there, it enters the second drawer, and that rains over the bottom. You can have as many drawers as you want. Notice that the flow is coming out nice and evenly, and that's what you're looking for, that's what you want to accomplish. So that's basically it. Obviously it's not going to be this noisy when there's media in it. In fact, it's absolutely silent. You won't hear anything. Now, this here filter is going to be just as efficient and does the exact same thing as you've seen my other filters do. If you've seen some of my other trickle tower filters, where I built large acrylic, really nice looking filters, this is the same thing, just not as pretty. So that was it, guys. Again, like I just mentioned, the wet-dry filter or trickle tower, however you're going to be using it, is not as pretty as some of the acrylic filters I've built, but it is just as efficient and it does the exact same thing. Anyways, I hope the video helped you guys out. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you find some use from it. If you'd like to see more projects or find out what other people are doing in terms of do-it-yourself projects, or simply want to ask some questions and meet some fellow fish keepers like yourself, be sure to check out DIYfishkeepers.com. That's my website. You'll find me there if you're looking for me. Anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.